Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we are rediving deep into a topic that's more relevant than ever: Canada's role in the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, or NATO. From the Cold War to today's complex geopolitical landscape, Canada has been a key player. But what exactly does that mean? How has our involvement evolved? And what are the big challenges and debates happening right now? Let's unpack it all. To really understand Canada's place in NATO, we have to go back to the beginning. The year is 1949. The ashes of World War II are still settling. And a new global tension is rising. The Cold War, the world was dividing into two camps. Western nations were feeling the pressure from the Soviet Union's expanding influence. Faced with this threat, 12 nations, including Canada, the United States, and much of Western Europe, came together to sign the North Atlantic Treaty in Washington, D.C. This wasn't just another political agreement. It was a pact of collective defense, built around one critical clause, Article 5. This article states that an attack on one member is an attack on all. It was a promise of mutual protection, a shield against aggression. For Canada, joining NATO was a defining moment. It marked a major shift in our foreign policy. For the first time, Canada was entering a peacetime military alliance. It was a step away from our historical ties to the British Commonwealth, and a move towards a new multilateral approach to global security, with strong ties to both the United States and Europe. Canadian diplomat Lester B. Pearson, who would later win a Nobel Peace Prize, was a key architect of the treaty, pushing for it to be more than just a military pact, but also a community built on shared democratic values. During the Cold War, Canada's contribution was significant. We stationed thousands of troops and tactical aircraft in Europe, primarily in West Germany and France. These forces were a visible part of NATO's deterrent against a potential Soviet invasion. Canadian ships patrolled the North Atlantic, hunting for Soviet submarines. And our forces in North America worked with the U.S. under NORAD to guard against air and missile attacks. It was a long, tense standoff, and Canada was on the front lines. Then, in 1991, the Soviet Union collapsed, and the Cold War ended. Suddenly, NATO's original purpose seemed to have vanished. Many people wondered if the alliance was still necessary. But instead of disbanding, NATO adapted. It began to look beyond its borders, taking on new roles in crisis management and peacekeeping. This is where Canada's role really evolved. It became heavily involved in NATO-led missions in the Balkans throughout the 1990s, trying to bring stability to a region torn apart by conflict after the breakup of Yugoslavia. Canadian soldiers were on the ground in Bosnia and later in Kosovo, serving as peacekeepers in incredibly dangerous and complex situations. The most significant moment for NATO post-Cold War came after the September 11th attacks in 2001, for the first and only time in its history. NATO invoked Article 5. The attack on the United States was declared an attack on all members. This led to the NATO-led mission in Afghanistan. Canada played a huge role in this mission. For over a decade, more than 40,000 Canadian Armed Forces members served in Afghanistan. Our involvement, particularly the combat mission in the Kandahar province, was one of the most significant military engagements in our country's recent history. It came at a heavy cost, with 158 Canadian soldiers losing their lives. The mission was controversial and sparked a lot of debate back home, but it showed Canada's willingness to step up for the alliance in a time of crisis. After Afghanistan, NATO's focus shifted again. In 2014, Russia's annexation of Crimea and its actions in eastern Ukraine sent shockwaves through Europe. NATO's old purpose, defending its members' territory, was suddenly front and center again. In response, NATO created the Enhanced Forward Presence. This involves stationing multinational battle groups in the Baltic states and Poland to deter potential aggression. And guess who's leading one of those battle groups? Canada. Since 2017, Canada has been the framework nation in Latvia, leading a multinational force of over 1,000 soldiers. This is a major commitment. We also regularly send our Navy ships to join NATO maritime groups and our fighter jets to participate in air policing missions over Europe. This brings us to the present day. The full-scale invasion of Ukraine in 2022 has been a seismic event for global security and for NATO. The alliance has been more united and more determined than ever. Canada has been a strong voice in support of Ukraine, providing billions in financial, humanitarian, and military aid. We sent everything from armored vehicles and artillery to training for Ukrainian soldiers in the UK and Poland. This renewed focus on collective defense has also reignited a long-standing debate within the alliance: defense spending. NATO members have a guideline to spend 2% of their GDP on defense. For years, Canada has been well below this target, a fact that has drawn criticism from allies, particularly the United States. Currently, Canada's spending is projected to be around 1.3 to 1.4% of GDP. The government has announced significant new investments in modernizing our military, including purchasing new F-35 fighter jets and new surveillance aircraft, and upgrading our NORAD systems. But critics argue it's still not enough, especially given the current global climate. They say that to be a credible ally and to protect our own sovereignty, especially in the Arctic, we need to meet the 2% target. On the other hand, defenders of Canada's position argue that the 2% figure is an arbitrary measure. They point to Canada's actual contributions leading the battle group in Latvia, deploying ships and planes, training Ukrainian troops. They argue that these concrete actions or outputs are more important than a simple spending percentage or inputs. This debate over spending versus contribution is at the very heart of discussions about Canada's role in NATO today. Another massive area of focus for Canada within NATO is the Arctic. As climate change melts the ice, new shipping lanes and access to resources are opening up. This is creating a new arena for strategic competition, with countries like Russia and China showing increasing interest in the region. The Arctic is Canada's northern frontier, and defending it is a huge priority. We are working with our NATO allies, especially the US, Denmark, and Norway, to increase our surveillance and presence in the north. Modernizing NORAD is a key part of this, ensuring we can detect and respond to threats in this vast and challenging environment. So, what's the verdict? Canada was a founding member of NATO, a key player in the Cold War, a major contributor to post-Cold War missions, and is now at the forefront of the alliance's response to new threats. We are leading in Latvia, patrolling the seas, helping to defend Ukraine, and working to secure the Arctic. However, we face real challenges. The debate over defense spending isn't going away. Modernizing our military is a massive and expensive task. And navigating the complex security environment of the 21st century, from cyber threats to strategic competition in the Arctic, will require constant adaptation and investment. Canada's relationship with NATO is a story of commitment, evolution, and ongoing debate. It reflects our country's place in the world of middle power with global responsibilities, deeply tied to the security of both Europe and North America. What do you think? Is Canada doing enough in NATO? Should we be spending more on defense? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. I read every single one. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this video informative, please hit that like button and subscribe for more content just like this. See you in the next one.